Hello YouTube, welcome back to another edition of Run Level Zero. I'm your host Init Zero, and today I thought we would talk about a few ways to make your life easier with a Linux operating system. I'm talking about the terminal, the command line. Now don't panic. For those of you who have been using Linux for a while, this is probably going to be more of a back to basics type episode. But for those of you who have just come over from that other operating system we won't talk about, the command line, the terminal, can be a confusing and intimidating place. Don't worry. The command line, the terminal in Linux can really make your life easier. In fact, the vast majority of things that you can do with a graphical user interface in Linux, you can do the same thing with a finer degree of control and generally get better results when you're using the terminal. I want to go through a few examples of that today and show you a way to just make life easier, make it happier in Linux. Today we're going to focus on a command called Alias. See, Linux gives you a greater degree of control in that you can actually make your own custom commands, unlike that other operating system where you're limited to what you can do. They basically tell you these are your commands, this is all you can do, and that's it. In Linux, you can actually string together existing commands and make your own custom commands. And we're going to take a look at an example of that today. One of the things I've been working on for you guys is I've been reviewing a few operating systems, a few Linux distributions I want to make reviews on for you. So when I've been running these as active desktops, I have to open up my menu, go to VirtualBox where I have these OSs installed in a virtual. One I'm going to do soon is LXLE. Then I have to click on the LXLE icon, wait for it to boot, and then put it into full screen or seamless mode, however I choose to do it, however I want to run it that day. There is an easier way to get this done in Linux, and I'm going to show you how to do that. Let's go over to our terminal. Now, for those of you new to Linux, in the terminal, we're using the bash shell, the born-again shell. It has an autocomplete feature, so even if you're not quite sure what command you're wanting to run, for us we're going to be starting VirtualBox. If you begin to type the command, we'll type in virt and press tab a couple of times, it'll give us a list of the commands that are available to us. And we see we want VirtualBox. So if we type in finish it VirtualBox or Virtual B and hit tab, it'll complete it for us. Now if we type --help and hit enter, we'll get a short help screen for our syntax for this command. Now that may be a little hard to read, so I'm just going to adjust my background right quick. Make it a little bit easier for you. There you go. That should be easier for you to read. So now we can see the syntax for our command. Now if you want a more in-depth tutorial on any command in Linux, you can look at the manual page, and you can get there simply by typing man and then the command that you want to look at. We're not going to go there because that's a little more information than we really want to display right now. But if you ever are confused about a command, I'd urge you to start with those manual pages. They can be very in-depth, a little too in-depth sometimes. But what we want to do, we can see here that our syntax is going to be VirtualBox, and these are our usages. These are our options that we can do. You can see we can start a VM and then follow it by the VM name. Okay, start a VM by specifying its UUID or name. So we're wanting to start a VM, and then we have these options here. We can start at full screen. We can enable the debug menu. We can start the VM running. Or start it in a pause state. We have a lot of options here. But for us today, what we're going to do, let's go back over to our VirtualBox. What we're looking for is we're going to start LXLE, the virtual. That's the name. So we're going to go VirtualBox dash dash start VM. Now our VM name, remember, it is case sensitive, so we're starting LXLE dash dash, and we're going to start it, if I can type it, in full screen. And this will start that VM in full screen. But you're saying 0. This is a little bit more work than what we were doing before with just point and click. And you know what? You're probably right. But remember I said before that you can create your own custom commands using a command called Alias. So we've copied that string. Let's take a look at that. Alias dash dash help. What did I do there? There we go. Alias usage. Alias, the name of the command is here, equals value, and then you're going to put the value meaning that the string you want to create, and then in single quotes we're going to put the actual command. What that's going to look like is alias. Let's create a command called LXLE equals. We're going to open up our quotes and paste in our command string that we just typed in above and close quotes and hit enter. Good, no errors. We have just created a command called LXLE, and when we type LXLE and hit enter, it's going to run our VirtualBox start VM LXLE in full screen mode. So let's test that out. Boom. There we go. It is starting that virtual. Just that easy. Now, let's close that out. Don't worry, I heard a bunch of you just cringe. It's a Linux operating system. It can take being closed like that from time to time. There is a drawback that I need to mention about the alias command. It's not persistent. And what I mean is, even though we just created that alias command, when we close this terminal session, the alias command goes away with it. I know that's a bummer. But there is a way that we can make that persistent. We're going to go into our file manager, to our home directory, to the root of our home. I just did something there. When you go into your home directory, likely you will see this. This is not all the files that are there. There are hidden files and folders. And in Linux, those hidden files and folders are marked with a period. If you go to View, you can show hidden files, or you can just press Control-H key combination and you'll see all of your hidden files and folders. See .config, it's hidden. We're looking for the .bashrc file. We're going to right click it and open it with your text editor. This is this file contains customizations for your shell that are unique to your profile. You can actually save this file and carry it with you from distribution to distribution. You'll see these bash marks, hashtags, pound symbols, whatever you want to call them. Whenever you see these are commented lines. The computer will not read them. So what we're going to do is we're going to scroll down to the bottom, and you can see where there's actually been a few aliases that have already been made for us in Ubuntu. But we're going to add that line we just created. You see I've created an alias here to update my system, so all I have to do is open a terminal and type update, and it'll run sudo apt-get update and sudo apt-get upgrade for me. That's one I've already created. So we're going to create another one. Let's create a comment line so we'll know what this does. Alias to start LXLE VM in full screen. Now we're going to issue our command alias LXLE equals. Now we're going to put our command string in quotes there. VirtualBox, Start VM, LXLE, full screen. We're going to save it. We're going to quit. And now every time we open a terminal, we can issue the LXLE command and it will launch our virtual in full screen mode for us. Just that simple. Okay? Now, that's a lot easier than typing out that string of commands every time. It's certainly a lot easier than walking through the GUI every time. We don't even have to bring up the VirtualBox Manager. We bypass that altogether. But there is a way that we can make it even easier. We can create a custom key combination to use. What we're going to do is click Menu. Now if you're using KDE or GNOME Desktop or Unity, you're going to have to look for your keyboard settings in different places. You can actually use your search bar, or most time if you go into your settings menu, you can see your keyboard options. So we're going to open up our keyboards. I think I just hit the wrong one there. Let's go to our settings manager. There we go, keyboard. Now you're going to see application shortcuts. Now on yours it may be called something different, but you're going to see a list of commands where you have the command and the key binding that it's bound to. We're going to create a new one, add. Our command is going to be our command string. Okay, you're just going to click OK. I don't know what just happened there. Let's try that again. Command, paste. I'm going to click OK. I believe it's asking for my key combination now. So I believe I'm going to bind that to Control-Alt-L. There we go. That's what it was wanting. So now you can see my new key combination. So I'm going to click Close. And let's test that out. Control-Alt-L, and it automatically launches my virtual in full screen mode. That's what I'm talking about. That's a lot easier. Now, in this lesson, we've covered specifically how to create custom commands in Linux using Alias, and we've gone over how to use those command strings and create custom key bindings. Now we've been specifically looking at VirtualBox, but I hope you can see how this can make your life a lot easier in a multitude of areas. I showed you my custom command for update that'll run my sudo apt-get update and sudo apt-get upgrade just by typing in one simple command. I can update my system entirely. If I wanted to, I could take this update command and put it in a custom key binding so that with just a stroke of a couple keys I can update my system. Linux gives you a lot more control over your system than any other of those other OSs. It puts the power in the user's hands. I hope you've enjoyed this episode. I hope it makes your life a lot more easier. Please comment, please subscribe, please check back for my future episodes. Thank you for watching me. I'm In It Zero. Have a nice day.